All right, so this is the second International Freedom Cell conference call that we're having, and we had the first one back in January, and that one we had 30 to 40 people join, which was pretty cool for the first time attempting this. Now it's been about 2 months, and it's, I guess it's time to do this again. I don't really have, as I mentioned the first call, I don't really have any sort of official outline of if we should do this on a monthly basis or how this exactly should work. The way I see it is, as long as there are people out there who are interested in the Freedom Cells concept, and as I'm employing it in my own life, as well as meeting lots of other people who are using the concept in their lives, I learn more about how to organize. I get different ideas for these things. And I feel like it is helpful to check in with each other. Like today, we're going to hear from April, so she can share examples of how they've already been building and working as a community where she lives here in Texas. So I think it is helpful for us to learn from each other. I don't want this to be like where I'm the one talking every month, which is why I want to show that right away. I have a couple things I want to go over as far as just developments that I've had and things that I've come across. And then there's some questions that a few people sent in. And if anybody else has any specific questions they want to put in the chat box, I'll try to answer those as best as I can. And anybody else can field those possible as well. If you look in the chat box, the other thing is there's a button, or at least if you're on desktop, I don't know how it looks on the phone. It says mute me. You can press that button, obviously, to mute yourself. And then there's a button that says raise hand. So if you press that, I'll see like an icon, and I guess that means like you have something to say. And so if you don't want to chat, if you want to actually say it out loud, you can just press that button, and then I will, pass it along. And depending on how long today goes, we might have another person who I think is going to be on the call talk about some of their organizing in their community. So the goal, really, the reason I want to do these calls is I've been promoting Freedom Cells, decentralized community groups, mutual aid groups, hubs, circles. People have all sorts of different names for them. For going on about 4 years now, specifically under the name Freedom Cells. And we've had the website for about half that time. And I'm giving a lot of public talks across the U.S. and increasingly internationally. And every single one of these talks, I'm mentioning the Freedom Cells concept. I'm mentioning the website and encouraging people to join. So, the reason I'm doing that is because some people will join, as I'm sure some of you have seen. You'll join and you'll find there's nobody in your area yet, or there's some people, but they're a little too far away, or you just haven't really been able to make things work. So my goal is that if I'm out there traveling a lot, I can sort of push the concept while everyone joins, and it becomes easier and easier for people to connect and build these real world groups. So that's the reason I think it's important to check in with each other and to have this call. And as long as it's useful, then I guess we can continue to do it because people seem interested in it. And I know there are people looking for solutions. As far as developments that have been taking place, the Freedom Cells website, the guy, Matthew, who's the one who built our website, as well as the Coeo platform, which is coeo.cc, Coeo, which is basically, they're very similar sites. They're designed to help you find people by location and to, look on the map and be able to see who's nearby you and all those things. And I've done videos in the past. I'm not sure if everybody who's on this call today has already looked into the website and seen, how it works. But if not, spend some time on the website exploring, because it's basically, as I said earlier, there's a map that people can sign up. And you might check 1 week and there's nobody in your community. And as it grows and as the concept spreads, more and more people are joining. So I would encourage each of you, even if you're just one person right now, go on to freedomcells.org, create an account, and you can list what your skills are and what your interests are. And you see this map here, if the screen share is working. You can see these are all different. You can zoom in. These are all different circles and cells and people all over the world who have different interests and different ideas. And the goal, of course, is to connect with them to actually build these, concepts, not just have another social network or another place like Facebook or something to talk about, although this is built like a social network. So if you haven't played with this, or if you haven't looked in a while, I do encourage you to go and look at it again and search for skills, or search your area and see who may be near you. Another thing is that we're talked about doing is putting the website on a blockchain of some kind. So I don't really have enough time to explain exactly what a blockchain is in full, but a blockchain is basically what is the underpinning technology for cryptocurrency at the current point, you know, like Bitcoin and others, but it also has applications much further than just currency. One of the popular websites that's taking this Bitcoin blockchain, which is a distributed digital ledger that is, you know, uncensorable, that is decentralized, and you know, it's basically more secure than the more traditional centralized networks and ledgers that we use, like banks. So it's a concept that has been used in social media with the website called steemit.com, which is one that I use. The reason I bring up blockchain, though, is to say this, is I've been thinking and trying to sort of think about how to incorporate the Freedom Cells concept and specifically the website into the blockchain technology, because it's a technology that is very new and early, and I think it's going to, you know, whether or not you believe in cryptocurrency or not, it's irrelevant to that. The blockchain technology that is underpinning that cryptocurrency is going to have uses, and already starting to have uses, both in the mainstream world and for activists and for those who seek digital decentralization. My point is, I think that if there might be a way to, maybe the website is built like it is, but it's on a blockchain, and you could even have, and I'm just kind of throwing out ideas here because I don't know how to, I'm not the tech guy, I don't know how to make these things, I just have the ideas. But you could make an internal currency or some sort of reward token, basically is what they're referred to, where say you sign up and you create a cell, then you're rewarded with, you know, 5 Freedom Cell tokens or whatever, right? And those can be traded amongst each other within the Freedom Cell community for various services and skills. Maybe once your Freedom Cell reaches 4 members, you know, you get another couple of bonus tokens. Or if your Freedom Cell goes out and builds a community garden or feeds the homeless or cleans up a park or does some sort of community action, and there's documentation of it saved on the website via the blockchain that's permanent and everybody can see it, then, you know, you get rewarded. So the idea being that you're incentivizing good behavior, but also incentivizing what we want, which is we want people to create decentralized groups and to focus on how they can work together and not be dependent on government or corporate power. That's, you know, that's my whole reason with building these groups and trying to do that, is so that we can eventually connect these groups, these smaller groups, into larger groups and have whole systems. Doesn't mean we all have to live the same, think the same, act the same, but that we work in partnership where different Freedom Cells can trade information as well as goods and resources, and you end up having a parallel economy and a parallel network of people to trade with and to do business with, so that you can continue to live the lives you want without having to be dependent on big corporate institutions or the government. So yeah, that's kind of, so that's one development. Is I talked with Matt recently about the idea of the blockchain, and if anybody has friends, I see a message, Eric Blinkley, who has steemnet.com, is from Texas, and he may be a good one to talk to. Okay, cool. Yeah, exactly. If you have ideas like that on people who could, or just your own ideas, put them in the chat or email me or whatnot. Just thinking about how to take the website, which is a beautiful website and is very functional, and how to make it, you know, move forward. And blockchain is really, I think, going to be a part of the future. The other thing is Matt, the guy who built the website, he's also doing a bit of traveling himself and speaking and spreading the concept through the Koyo network, through where there's like 4 different websites that connect. There's Collective Evolution's website that's just like ours, but meant to bring people together for, you know, groups. There's the Freedom Cell Network. There's Max Egan's Full Circle Project, the Koyo Network, and then there was another one that I can't think of that was more about meditations. But the point is, there's all these different groups that are coming together and working on a common purpose and a common goal, which is to bring people together using digital tools, but at the same time focused on connecting in the real world. And, you know, that's what we're trying to do here. So that's pretty much all I got for now. I'm going to continue to promote that. I would ask and hope that you guys, again, play with the website, get to know it a little bit better if you haven't. And if you haven't looked in your community in a while, do that. And tell other people that you know about it. I mean, there's a lot of people right now who are looking for an alternative to Facebook and looking for an alternative to these old platforms that share their information and do all kinds of different things. You know, we don't store any of the data that's on the website. It's not going to be shared with anybody for advertising or anything like that. It's there for people to connect. So check it out and share it with other people. Now, we did have a couple of questions sent by one of the supporters here. Dave, are you on the call? He might not be, but he sent in some questions, so we'll get to his questions. Hold on real quick. Okay, cool. So these are the questions from Dave. He says, What is the goal with being in multiple cells, and can one join more than one cell? What is the practical idea number of cells to be involved with? So what he's referring to here is, as I was just talking about a moment ago, that the first step is, okay, I want to create a freedom cell or a community group or a circle or whatever you want to call it. You want to create your core group that you can depend on. So you start looking to your closest friends, your closest family that are nearby you. Obviously, they have to be somewhat close to you in order to be able to work together regularly and do projects together. So this is someone that you're probably going to want that's within 30 minutes of you, if not closer, especially in emergency situations. And you start looking to the people closest to you, family and friends, and trying to see who's interested in common goals, common interests. So this could be, the defense, learning self-defense, learning how to grow your own food together, getting into alternative currencies like cryptocurrency, or creating your own paper currency, or investing in precious metals, or investing in seeds, learning CPR, teaching yourself permaculture, teaching yourself about history, so education, knowledge sharing, all these different concepts, and having that core group to lean on. And ideally, the group is about 7 to 8 members, in that number, in that range. We found that people, when it gets too many in a certain group, it's harder to work together and things get a little bit more difficult, and it's harder to manage. But if you can kind of keep it at a smaller number, it seems to work well. Not too small where you're ineffective, but just at this right amount. So 7 to 8 people or so. And so that's the original cell, right? Your first core group of people. And you start teaching each other skills, you start working together. And after a while, after a time, and this is up to you, it's all dependent on your experience, when you become comfortable and you think, okay, well, we've each got some food stored away, we've taught each other a bunch of skills, we're learning how to grow our own food, we're doing all these great things, we have self-defense skills. Look to your more immediate surroundings. So maybe if you're not already living together, like, you don't necessarily, the freedom cell concept doesn't necessarily mean you have to be living on the same land. It doesn't even mean you have to live in the same neighborhood. But eventually, I think the goal would be to bring it down to the neighborhood level, to the community level. So like in Houston, when we started our freedom cell, we're in Houston, it's a big city, big metropolis. So you can be in Houston technically and be 30 minutes away from somebody on the other side of town, or even 40, 45 minutes away. So if we're in a situation where it's an emergency, it's going to take that person 35 to 40 minutes to get here for me. So that would be good for a while as far as having that person to work with for your first freedom cell, but eventually you're going to want to localize it as close as possible. And this is why we talk about, you have that first freedom cell, right? Then you encourage each individual. So you say you got 7 people in your first group, and they're people who live fairly close to you, and you guys are teaching each other skills, you're going through this process. Then each of you turn around and create another freedom cell, begin a new one, something probably more local to you. So if you started in the whole big city of Houston and everybody was distributed, then the next freedom cell you would want to start would be something a bit more local to you. And what you eventually are going to have is you have those first 7 individuals turning around and creating the secondary cells, and that ends up being with 7 to 8 groups of 7 to 8 people. So you're looking at 70 to 80 people spread across one area. Your possibilities as far as doing projects and things like that are much greater. You can do small actions with one single cell, but you can also do these larger actions and be much more effective. So that's what he was referring to. And he said, what is the goal with being in multiple cells, and can one join more than one cell? Well, I think that one can do whatever one wants to do, because this is a completely decentralized concept, and I'm just putting it out there. There's no freedom cell handbook. My book, Manifesto of the Free Humans, has a couple essays on this concept. I've got a lot of videos on the website, but I've reiterated time and time again that this is not about a freedom cell being exactly like the others. It's a new way that we're working into this, and we're using digital tools. So of course we're having these conversations, we're learning from each other. But what I'm doing in Houston and what you're going to hear from April doesn't mean you have to do it that exact same way in your own community. You take the ideas and adapt them and adopt them to your environment, your needs, and your surroundings and your resources. So yeah, you can join more than one cell, and I think that's what would be effective eventually. And what is the goal of being in multiple cells? As I said, being able to do larger actions to be more effective. And so you go from saying just having 7 people who are using cryptocurrency, or 7 people who are trading in precious metals, or 7 people who are doing a barter network, right? To then you end up having multiple cells. So you end up with 70 to 80 other people now who maybe y'all have a weekly or monthly meetup on somebody's land or at a location you guys choose, and all these different cells just come together, and it's like the big Houston area freedom cell network party, and everybody comes together and they bring whatever goods they have. We could I could just imagine like almost like a farmer's market or something, but everybody who's there is involved and interconnected through Freedom Cells, and getting to know each other, you're getting to network and share each other's skills. And you're creating that little tribe of people to work with. And these are going to be people who will, the goal is to find like-minded people. So that doesn't mean you're going to be agreeing on every single political issue, but these are people who are generally looking to, educate their family and themselves in their own manner outside of the state's hands, looking into ideas like alternative health or just, non-pharmaceutical health, looking into alternative education, looking into, alternative food production, all these different things, decentralized currencies. So the Freedom Cell, the goal of being connected to more than oneself is because it gives you more people to choose from and to work with. It gives you a bigger market of free individuals who are searching on, ways to create value in their lives and to break free of these systems. You have more people to deal with. I mean, that's pretty much it. What is the practical ideal number of cells to be involved with? I probably would say maybe you only need to do 2, because you basically have your first cell that you make, right? And you partner with 7, 8 other people. And then once that gets established, everybody starts a secondary cell closer to them. So you would be the person not leading, but initiating that secondary cell, or at least joining with it. Maybe at that point, that's good for you because you're able to connect. But also at the same time, the website can serve as a purpose. And I mean, I think we need to have non-digital ways to do this, but the website can serve as a way for us to connect in a larger manner. So maybe you're only physically part of 2 Freedom Cells. Like when I say physically, I mean that you're actually visiting these people and you're having meetings with them face to face, that kind of thing. But on the Freedom Cells website, you can create as many circles as you want, and you can join other people's circles. So you can be physically connected to the people closest to you, but then digitally connected and working with, a whole network of people throughout Texas or throughout the UK or wherever you're at, and able to, again, like plan these larger meetings. I think that we could plan towards, as this concept grows and we're looking at, wow, we've got 100 Freedom Cells of active people, maybe a couple in one, and then others who have like full-fledged, 7, 8 people who are just rocking and got things going down. And we all get together and network and share stories and share ideas and share what's working. I mean, that's how this is really going to work, is by sharing the knowledge among each other. His other questions here, he said, what is an ideal protocol for removing people who do not contribute? Again, I'm just giving my opinions on this. I think that there's always going to be a different way to handle things. Personally, I'm not the kind of person I actually get this question fairly often. I'm not the kind of person that calls the cops whenever I have a situation to deal with. Obviously, maybe in some extreme cases, I might feel the need to do that. But generally, I'm not the kind of person that calls the cops. So if somebody's acting a fool, and I'm guessing that's what he's meaning, he says they don't contribute. So maybe you're having Freedom Cells meetings and they're just not really contributing their thoughts, or you organize a Freedom Cell get together and they're just not building in the garden, or they're being lazy or whatever. I mean, in my experience, I've been a part of a Freedom Cell that has consisted of probably 20 to 30 people, because people cycle in and out. I just keep trying to organize new meetings, and whoever shows up and shows that they care and that they're committed, well, then that's who I'm going to work with, right? Obviously there's some trust level, but I'm already working with people that I generally trust. And if I can tell, they don't seem too stoked on this, they're not really that pumped about it, eventually they're probably going to stop coming. I'll keep inviting them. And so I feel like, I don't know why somebody would want to force their way into a Freedom Cell if they're not contributing, but at the same time, it is a historical kind of issue that people talk about, known as the free rider problem. When you're building a community, you tend to have people who will try to skate by on very little work and take the benefits and the resources of the community, right? So I think that's what they're getting out. And as far as what is the ideal protocol for removing people, this is something that I have written a little bit about. I think that, like, let's imagine a free society where we're not trying to call the cops. We're not trying to, view people or physically remove them. Basically, if somebody is being an illegitimate member of the community, or just unfavorable, or they can't work with others, people stop doing business with them. It's a form of excommunication, nonviolent, excommunication. You're not physically removing somebody unless it comes to that level where they're physically intruding upon and endangering people who are involved with the group, and that's a whole other question. But if somebody's just trying to be a free rider and it's been brought to their attention, this is another thing, is practicing and learning nonviolent communication. Personally, the Freedom Cells that I'm trying to be involved in, I would want to say, that's a requirement, because I think that it benefits everybody very well. So if you have time, listen to the audiobook or check out the book from Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication. It's great for all relationships, but I definitely think with groups like this who have a purpose and who are trying to come together, obviously conflicts will arise anytime, human beings come together, we get conflicts. But being able to have tactics and ways to communicate with people, like let's say somebody's not carrying their weight, or they're just being an asshole or something, being able to communicate that, and without becoming passive aggressive, without people attacking each other and taking things personally, and just escalating, there are effective ways to communicate with people, and nonviolent communication is very helpful for that. So that would be one suggestion I would say, is to practice nonviolent communication, learning how to hear what this person is needing, what needs they have that they feel like aren't being met, because that's basically what the book talks about, is that most conflicts tend to come from a place of one or both of the individuals involved in the conversation not having their needs met, not feeling like their needs are being met. And when you don't feel like your needs are being met, well, you tend to lash out, and you're also not able to communicate very effectively. So being able to hear somebody and hear what they are needing, being able to compassionately tell them how they're making you feel, and then requesting to have your needs fulfilled with each other. I mean, it's kind of a process, but once you incorporate it into your life and it becomes a regular part of what you're doing, it's much easier to be in these tense situations, especially working in groups. What are some quick and easy ways to summarize the concept of freedom cells in 20 to 50 words or less? Let me see how many words I put on the website. I don't think it was more than 50 words. I don't know. That's a good one. I guess everybody should develop an elevator pitch or something for this. But I mean, the idea is it's decentralized. That's one thing that I think, if there's a freedom cell rule, the rule is it should be decentralized, right? 7 to 8 people working together. So you could say peer-to-peer decentralized group formed for the purpose of knowledge sharing, skill sharing, defense, health, really any idea. That's the whole thing, is it's kind of hard to take this big picture idea and contain it into 20 to 50 words, because it could be used in an infinite number of ways. The website says freedom cells are peer-to-peer groups organizing themselves in a decentralized manner with the goal of asserting the sovereignty of the group members, which means asserting that each individual is free and owns themselves, and that we're coming together collectively, choosing voluntarily to work together through peaceful resistance and the creation of alternative institutions. Peaceful resistance, of course, means not trying to vote the bad guys out necessarily. I mean, you can still vote in your free time if you want, but the freedom cells, I guess a freedom cell could be formed and say, hey, we're going to focus on voting and building cells that vote if you want to. But that was, that's not really the purpose that I'm bringing it together. To me, it's more like, instead of focusing on thinking we need to be violent or thinking we need to vote them out, we form community groups that can come together and work together and build the world that we want to see. And so you look at all the different areas and the institutions that you don't want to support, the food production systems, the government, the corporations, and all these different areas, and you unplug and you opt out, and you find other people that want to do the same thing and work together to help build each other up and help build what I think to be the next stage of our society, of our world, if we choose to do so. So yeah, the website has a short summary that I think you can use, and I think overall people get the concept. It's not that hard to explain it. There's some nuts and bolts to explain, and there's questions like this, but overall I think we understand the idea of a tribe coming together. And wherever you're from, it's important for you to know that you are indigenous somewhere. And what I mean to say by that is, whether you're from the United States, from UK, from anywhere, anywhere in the world, really, your ancestors, your people came from somewhere, whether it's Scotland, Ireland, native to the Americas, whatever. So I think that our origins are all tribal and clans in some way, and different times and different points in history. So we understand this concept. I think it's more intrinsic to us than we may realize. How many people worldwide are active on the website? I'm not quite sure. I know there's 3,000 people who've signed up on the newsletter, and maybe something like that on the website. And then again, when you connect the Freedom Cells website to the larger platforms, there's something like hundreds of thousands of people on that. And that's another thing. If you don't know that, when you're on the map, when you're searching on the website, it'll show you local cells, all the freedom cells that people have created. And then you can go scroll down further and you can see circles, the other circles that connect to the COIO platform. So you can actually meet people who aren't even really on the Freedom Cell network. They're part of one of the other platforms, but you can still cross-communicate and interconnect. So it really is a great opportunity to meet people. And I mean, it can seem kind of weird, but I would spend some time on there just looking around and searching for interests and ideas that you have and seeing what people are on there and trying to connect, because these are people who are not just coming to just mill about on the internet. They're coming on that website because they've heard about these ideas and they want to build them. What are the most active cells currently in development, and where can I possibly view information about them? So that's sort of difficult to tell. I think you can look on the map and you can kind of see which parts of the world seem to be more active as far as cells, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those cells are physically active in the real world, or some people go create a cell and they never come back and look at it again. But I can say, as far as the United States, which is where my knowledge is mainly based, as far as the United States, I definitely saw a lot of action in Minnesota when we were doing our tour last year. Texas is a good place. There's lots of good communities forming or preparing to form in the coming years. I've heard from people in Australia and different parts of the UK. I know that this concept is also being employed like down in parts of Mexico. And the more I meet people from Costa Rica and other parts of Central America, again, it's something that just seems to make sense. I'm looking at the website now. I mean, it definitely looks like Texas is there's a good amount of cells there. Up in mid to Northern California, there's about 45 different cells there. Maryland, the East Coast, looks pretty concentrated. So I think it's what you would expect. Some heavy stuff on the West Coast, some heavy stuff on the East Coast, and some things going down in Texas, and then scattered all throughout there. But I would just advise, wherever you're from, wherever you're listening from, spend some time on the map and look around and see what you find. So those are pretty much, let me see if there was any other questions to get to before we pass it off to April. Yeah, okay, so the idea of blockchain, we talked about that. Question for, do I support Adam's book, Freedom? I do support Adam's book, Freedom. I don't support him running for president. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of unrelated to Freedom Cells, but Adam is a friend, and I do support his book, and I think it can help a lot of people understand the message. Second question is about Texas Freedom Grounds started by Corey Watkins. Yes, that is something that I support. So if you don't know, Texas Freedom Grounds is a part of Texas that this activist Corey Watkins put together, and he helped organize with, I mean, it's a big community of people. And the idea is basically they're not all living on the same piece of land, but they're living in the same area of Texas, like a couple of small towns right by this really big lake, and it's really beautiful. And they just basically help people get set up in really cheap houses and apartments in this town and in contiguous areas. So they're kind of like, their freedom cells are spread out throughout the neighborhood, almost, you could say. And I spoke there at Texas Freedom Grounds last summer for my Texas tour. So yeah, I definitely support what they're doing. How secure is the website? Well, we do have HTTPS, security protocols, and there's some other stuff on the back end. It's definitely not as secure as it could be, but the information is definitely safe. And as I said, it's not being sold, or, I mean, that's not even really, the website's not saving. We're not doing anything with any of that kind of stuff. It's just there for you to sign up and then to find other people. But if anybody else has other ideas as far as security and you want to look at the website and help improve it, please feel free to contact me, or just contact me and we can work on that. Unless there are any other basic questions about freedom cells right now, and I'll wait a moment. If anyone wants to put those in the chat, I will answer those. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to April so she can tell us a little bit about her community and what they have going on. Any of Larkin Rose's views that you disagree with? I don't know. I'm sure if we talked about all the issues long enough, well, I mean, personally, I'm a vegan, and I don't think Larkin's a vegan, so I guess we disagree on that, but as far as the state goes, no, we're typically on the same page. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being on the call, and we're going to just go give it to April now, and then we'll continue on after this. Again, if you have any other questions, just go ahead and put them out there, or put questions out to April, and we'll continue. All right, April, whenever you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, cool. So we started ours, I would say, through the kids. I have 2 young kids and knew early on I didn't want them in the public system. And we recently moved from the suburbs of Houston out to Ben Wheeler, Texas, looking for a simpler life for the kids and wanted to homestead and experience that. And we unschool our kids, so that brought us to searching for other unschool families. We found a co-op in Dallas that we attended when we first moved out, and I quickly realized that although we all unschooled, we didn't really share the values of sustainability and freedom and kind of decentralizing our lives. So we formed our own co-op at our property in Ben Wheeler. And that was kind of the start of our Freedom Cell. We had people kind of naturally come and go to the co-op, and now have settled on our core group of, I would say, about 6 families that come every week. And the co-op is nature-based for the kids, and we try to teach them sustainability, nature skills, and crafts. And what's really come of it, though, is a community and a friendship and a bond amongst the parents and the kids. And we meet every Friday, all day on Fridays. The kids just kind of roam free on the property, and the parents get to talk about the things that are important to us, and how we can bring our kids up in this crazy world, but try to teach them something different. And from the co-op, we've branched out to have 2 other meetings that we have regularly. We have our makers meetings, where we all get together and make something. Usually we'll exchange houses that will host it, and the host will teach us a skill that they know. So we've made bread, we've made kombucha, salves, tinctures, soap, all things I knew nothing about before and have since learned. And we have also started a community garden. We picked one of the members' properties that seemed the most fitting to start gardening in bulk. And it was really neat to see how quick we were able to get everything knocked out when we had, 6 to 8 adults working together and 10 kids. And for example, we planted like 100 strawberries in 30 minutes and 50 pounds of potatoes in about 40 minutes. And it was fun the whole time. Everybody was hanging out, yet getting stuff done, and it was really exciting. And we, what we really learned is that the more we talk, the more we get together, we've all have a shared interest in starting an intentional community. And so we're trying to work out the details of that, but we've come to realize that living together for us is an important foundation for that, because we all have kids, and life is really hard with kids, and you're trying to do it on your own. And if we can live together to help knock out some of the daily essentials, the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, the gardening, and then the taking care of the kids together, it's made life so much easier, because we've experienced it. We've traveled together, we've stayed in Airbnbs together, and so we got to witness firsthand doing those just daily chores as a group, as a community, has made it less mundane, less stressful, and enjoyable. So now we're kind of in our next phase, is where we're looking to form our intentional community. We all each have pretty good properties that we could utilize, but I think we've come to the decision that we're going to try to purchase a property together as a group and start a new, fresh start, and utilize the current properties for rental income to help us fund the new property. So that's our current endeavor, and we're starting some meetings to talk about that. We want it to be an income sharing property. One of the current members has an awesome artisan soap business that we're going to utilize to all start to chip in, and hopefully be able to use that as our central income. And yeah, we're going to start visiting. We're really inspired by the East Wind community in the Ozarks that run a really successful business, yet they all income share, and work like 30, 35 hours a week, including cars, getting taken care of, cooking, cleaning, and everything. So that's kind of our vision. We're going to visit them, visit a couple others, and then start looking at some properties. And so that's kind of our story. And I'd heard about Freedom Cells from Derrick in 2015, and it kind of got me going on really trying to create something for ourselves. And here we are now. And I kind of realized in watching the last call that we had come pretty far so far and getting that started. So I just wanted to share our story with you guys and give another example of what it could look like.
Yeah, April, I don't know if you can see the chat, but everybody's giving
I
you lots.
can't. I'm on my phone. I can't really see the chat. So
I'll read it to you just so you can say, because there's a question, but everybody's just saying, awesome. Well, I was saying awesome to hear about the makers thing, because Skillshares is one of the first things that we started doing with the Freethinkers in Houston, and that was always something that people enjoyed, and it just helps all of us grow. Um, Somebody said, we are social communal beings, so you are brilliant. I'm really inspired by your story. I'm inspired to be involved. Miriam said, awesome soaps and visions. And somebody was asking if you've had any problems dealing with conflict.
we have. We have actually, in the beginning, we had to remove a member from the co-op who just started to show. Initially, we thought, we were pretty aligned, then started to show that she basically, participated in the state system, had called CPS on some just kind of random folks in a parking lot. We had a big discussion about it and realized she was still pretty strong and that was the right thing to do. And we just agreed that she wasn't a good fit. So we just asked her not to continue in the group. And so we've had a couple conflicts. People have naturally come and gone. I mean, we started, with a whole different group in the beginning than what we've settled on now. But I would say for the most part, the conflicts had worked themselves out. Some of the parents complained that some of the other parents were posting too political and this, that, and the other. But we have our values written down on the co-op website, and open communication is one of them. And so if there's issues, we feel like if you can openly communicate about them, they will most of the time work themselves out.
Awesome. Let me see. I don't know if you got any other questions. Anything else you just want to add before we wrap that up? And thank you for sharing all that. I'm excited. I definitely want to talk to you about what you guys have going on.
Yeah. I mean, what I would add is that you don't have to have kids to make kids bring you together. People who have kids are always looking for help. So, I mean, if you have ideas, we've met awesome people in the community that don't have kids, but they have other skills. They can organize, and they have some really good ideas on co-ops and structures and activities for kids, or they can help us teach them skills. So, I mean, parents need help. So you don't have to have your own kids to utilize them to bring a community together, because they literally are our future. And if you don't know where to start, find a kid or a kid and you can start there.
Anna was asking if you could talk a little bit about educating the kids.
Sure. So we follow the world schooling, free schooling, unschooling philosophy, where it's basically life learning. We watch our kids, form a good relationship with them, and find out what their interests are. And through their interests, we feel they learn the fundamentals that are needed to learn. They learn to read, they learn math, they learn physics. My daughter's really into surfing right now, so she's learning balance and whatnot through that. And so we just try to provide the opportunities that they need to educate themselves. We don't feel like they necessarily need a teacher. The world is their teacher. We just help facilitate and bring them to the opportunities that they can learn from.
What have been like the biggest, challenges with that?
Help. We don't live together, so I still have laundry and dishes, and I have a 2-year-old, and so just dealing with the day-to-day stuff, and then wanting to take her out and do stuff and give them their own individual attention has been hard, because my husband does have to work. And so that's where I'm saying parents need help. So if you're able to help a parent by take a kid to the park or whatever, just being spread a little thin has been the hard thing, because they don't go away during the day. They're with me all the time. And so, I am the one to provide those opportunities. So it takes work, but we're committed to doing it.
So is that another reason for wanting to have everybody in an intentional community, so that you have that sort of tribal communal setting where everybody can pitch in and help out in different ways?
That is absolutely the main reason. The one that has the soap business, she's got 5 young kids running a business, solo. And so when we're all together and we have our makers meetings, it's amazing, because the kids go off and play. Like I said, most of us have large properties, so they're out in the woods the whole time. They're not bugging us. They're not complaining that they're bored. and they're not on phones or TV. They're playing with each other, because the kids need community just as much as adults need it. And so when there's more kids around, we're able to accomplish more, and everybody's happier. They're happier, we're happier. It just makes sense.
Awesome. Okay, so one other question from David. He said, how do you go about educating the kids in a group, as I imagine some parents have different ideas of child education? And, or, first let's stop there. Do you think, does everybody have different ideas of child education, or in your specific, like your cell, your community? I think you guys are all about unschooling, world schooling, right?
Yes, so that's been one of the things that we've come to realize with the people that have come and gone, is the ones that have stuck, we all relate on the same values, which is letting our kids learn freely. We don't use a curriculum, so we all have pretty similar ideas on how we want to educate our kids, which is through the free schooling philosophy.
And he said, how do you compromise on what opportunities to bring the children? I guess between, like, if you're in a group of the whole tribe together with multiple parents and multiple kids, how do you compromise on what opportunities to bring the children?
I right now am the one that creates the activities each week for the co-op, so I talk amongst the members kind of what their kids are interested in, and I try to rotate because it's a mixed age group. We have from babies to teenagers, so I really rotate each week. But I don't know. I don't really know how else to answer that.
Okay, that's good. I appreciate you fielding these questions, and I think that is important.
Sure.
To for everybody to understand that, like, not every question is going to have a perfect answer, because there's no, like, even if you're raising your kids, say, in a more traditional manner, there's no manual book, there's no guidebook to that. So when you're doing something completely outside of that system, which is basically just letting the kids be themselves and guide them, I think the questions, a lot of the answers, they come as a situation happens. Like you said, with the conflicts, they work themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How can people stay in touch with you?
Say it one more time.
How can people stay in touch with you if they want to hear more about what you're doing or get involved in something?
I'll give them my email address. Again, I can't type on these comments right now, but it's April, K as in kite, Luce, LUCE @gmail.com. Yeah, just email me, and I'd love to talk about it. It's what I do. The kids are my whole thing right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, April. I appreciate that. And please do get in touch with her. And I hope that we could do something like this for each call, is, talk about questions that may come up, and I can field whatever questions I have. And then we can get some people to share their stories. I don't know if we have Michael on the line today, but maybe we'll get him next time. But I do want to mention him because I think we sort of went over it last time. He has another website that's similar to Freedom Cells that's called Mutual Aid Network, and similar concepts, all that, but it's just another platform. So if you haven't checked that one out, check out Mutual Aid Network. And probably next month he's going to be our guest speaker, I guess you could say. He's going to talk about his work with mutual aid groups and with Freedom Cells and how he's been having success. And absolutely, if anybody else has other ideas to share in the future, then I'd love to do that. I'm going to go ahead and try to just set a date for the next call right now while we're here, and just so I can go ahead and set that in my own mind. I think that I could probably commit to doing this call again on Sunday, April 22nd, about the same time. If that changes, I'll let you know. I'll be sending out an email at the beginning of April with an update, and I'll send this video out in the next couple days so you can share it and watch it again. And yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting this effort, and hopefully you learned something through April or just through the questions. Please do use the website, check it out, check out the map, explore it a little bit. If there are no further questions, then I think we're done for today. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Derek.